I wanted them together because I feel like when you put the right two souls together, that's when magic can really happen. And that's when we can see the magic of the universe manifested as amazing things that we see in this world. Manifestation is visualizing something that you really want, that you don't have right now, and taking the leap of faith to jump into that world first mentally, which then materializes. But mentally being where you want to be and feeling it in your bones. Like this feeling that I experienced today, which is now, it's just this rush of adrenaline mixed with like this exhaustion, but in a good way, you know? I experienced this feeling over and over again in the last 2 years. And I'm not sure it's good for my nervous system. But anyways, if you want to manifest, you should really feel the feeling. And now it's just, I'm reliving the feeling. I felt it until it manifested.
How did you know this was right?
I just felt it. I just felt that this is right.
Question in that, please.
I wasn't sure, but I actually work with this incredible spiritual teacher, and she translates the language of the universe to me, and she tells me what my lessons are that I need to learn, and I adore her. And actually, she's with me. So her name is Sudi Burnett. Do you remember I went through my notes on my phone in last April 2024. You and I were having a random conversation and you told me, what do you really, really want? And I'm like, I want this, I want that. And then you're like, get more specific. And somehow we came down to Gwyneth Paltrow, Mindvalley, Gaia TV, and I wrote it all down. I saw it on my phone like today. Why did you guide me in that direction? What made you guide me in that direction?
Well, I don't have a personal plan or guidance. So it's just about, my life is all about living in the moment. And as I'm living in the moment, and I learned over years how to quiet down the mind and also the ego, that's a big part of my teaching. Recognizing the mind as a different entity, recognizing the ego as shadow. And over years, I have worked. So they kind of quiet. I let them do the things that they're doing, but I'm kind of observing what they're doing. So during this time, I learned to separate myself from them, and I'm only connected hearing, as you said, the universe guiding me. So every second when I'm dealing with somebody and the situation is, the universe is guiding me. So I'm not thinking about it. It's just a divine plan. And in a way, it's just somehow like the divine plan is speaking through me for each person.
But I remember last week you told me, I called you for something and you're like, stop calling me for every little thing. You need to start listening to the universe. Do you think we can all get there?
Absolutely.
How?
It's just, number one is just recognizing there is another way, because a lot of people, when the mind is constantly talking, and as I always say, I said, the mind is constantly wants to audition for your attention. And you don't have to take the mind, make it very urgently that you have to listen to me. I have something very important to tell you. So as you start ignoring it or leave it aside, right? You have to know that while you're quieting down the mind, or don't go with the storyline or listening to it, then you tap in to the wisdom of the universe. But you have to know that a lot of people, they don't even know that. But once you learn that, you just keep letting the mind and ego do whatever they're doing, and you just come to this place of quietness, stillness, and you are already there.
Thank you. Yeah. So basically, this was manifested because we made the mind and the ego go quiet so we could hear the language of the universe, the messaging from the universe. And Gwyneth and Vishen were just on the stage. They had this crazy fireside chat. It was really funny because mixing Vishen's sense of humor and being a stand-up comedian at heart and Gwyneth's raw authenticity. This is really funny. So there you go. We manifested this.
I have yet to hear how does it work. Like, give me, even if it's like 3 things if someone's watching this video that I can actually do
Okay.
to start my practice.
Okay.
Teach me a little something today.
Okay. So for people listening, what tools can you give them to manifest what they want?
It depends on where the manifestations are coming from, right? So oftentimes I said we can listen to the mind to guide us, but the mind has a package of programmings and agenda. Can you really trust your mind?
No, not at all.
Oftentimes we cannot trust our mind, right? So that's one way, but still some people manage to manifest what they want without the guidance of the universe. That's possible too, but that also depends on how long have you did self-inquiry, how often do you recognize the mind? Is it healthy mind? Is it a sick mind? Is it a prosperous mind? Is it a scarcity mind? So you have to have the knowledge to really see the mind as a separate entity. That's one way. Sometimes you can go with the mind, but you don't know what the outcome is. Another time is, like I said before, if you separate yourself from the mind, right? What happens in this moment? I have this practice, thought cut silence, that I said scientifically, every mind, it doesn't matter whose mind it is, the mind itself is making 75 to 90,000 thoughts per day. So can you imagine 75 to 95,000 thoughts per day? And then that collective thought, how much of the time are you aware that it's not you who is the thinker of the thought, but is the machine, the thinking machine, as I call it. So the practice of thought cut silence is, I say, imagine in your mind eyes that you have a golden scissor. As the mind comes to get your attention, I said, hey, Megan, you cut it and you come in this millisecond of silence until the mind picks up the next thing, and then you cut it. And then eventually at the beginning, you're going to go nuts because the mind is, doing its job and you're trying to interrupt this complicated machine, which is producing thoughts every second. So as you keep cutting the thoughts and you come into millisecond of silence, you have done this practice, and you see eventually you have more space of silence. Every day as you do this practice is more silence. And the minute you go into this space of silence, what has been your experience?
That everything that I've ever wanted started to manifest itself.
Yes.
So I didn't actually do anything to manifest. All I did was I made my mind go quiet.
Yes.
I silenced my mind.
Exactly. And when you quiet down the mind, eventually you start tapping into your intuition. Your intuition is your higher self guidance, or in a way is the universe talking through your intuition. That's the main wisdom.
Wow. So the way to manifest is to work on making your mind go quiet by recognizing the thoughts. And once you're in that state of inner silence, you can go deep within and experience the joy and the feeling of bliss and oneness with the source. And from that space, anything that you visualize, as long as it's positive, it manifests itself on the outside. That's been my personal experience.
Yes, but also, we did a huge task on ego, recognizing the ego, which is all parts of your identities, all the needs and desires comes in a package of ego. And, I haven't, the second practice is recognizing your ego as your shadow. And from the minute that you wake up, you are conscious. You have to stay conscious that the mind and ego are the one who are writing the storyline of your life. They're writing the script together. They're in picking up doing auditions for different actors and actresses, which is this one is coming as your mom and your dad and your boyfriend and your boss. And all of these characters are fictions that are created by the mind and ego. So eventually, when you separate yourself from and you watch the ego, you stay behind or you become the observer that you're just watching the ego and then you see every step. And you know when your ego wants to take you, on a wrong direction, you stop it right there. So it's by managing the ego, watching it, stop listening to it or obeying it and say, I see you. You tell your ego, I recognize you exist and give it existence. You keep separating yourself from the ego. And then what happens? You become aligned with the universal plan. And then you reach that state of surrendering. How does that feel?
Oh my God, I feel like who am I to want something when the universe has a much better plan for me than I can even imagine? Then from that state, not only all of your wants and needs are manifested, but you also have this level of trust that these are just the little things that my little mind can imagine, but the universe has much bigger plan for me. So yeah, as long as you can figure this part out, the rest is taken care of.
Teach me a little bit more about her.
Sudi is a spiritual teacher, a shaman, and I think a divine channel who is here to help humans understand the language of the universe. And she had an awakening experience when she was, I think, in her 40s, after years of being a teacher, fitness teacher, like being in front of the camera, talking about wellness. So she was very experienced. And by the time she had her awakening, she used 40 years of the experience of being a teacher, now combining that with the divine direction. So being a teacher for the divine. What was that awakening?
Well, I think the major awakening was when I had near-death experience. You know about that, right? Yeah, it was almost into my 30s that I had a major car crash and I had a near-death experience that I left my body and I went to the higher realm and there was a huge window opening up and I was seeing so many different lives and I telepathically asked, are these all me? Different time zone, 1970, 2030. And I understood telepathically that I am as a soul living in so many different parallel universes at the same time. And so, yes, at this moment, if my consciousness goes to 1700, I see a life over there. And then 2000, I have a life over here and so on and so forth. So I gain all of that knowledge. What is life about? I could see and really understand that here on earth plane, it's a school and every second is a class. I move from one class to another. But then when I came back to my body, I couldn't comprehend because it was so much information. And it took me again, maybe another 10 years to little by little getting a flashback. Oh, I forgot this part. Oh, it's this part. And then eventually start to, and as you know my story, I was a personal trainer and I was pursuing my acting and universe just shut down all of that. And then this path of healing just fell in my lap. And for 2 months, I was like, I don't want to do it. It's too much responsibility. No. And then finally, I realized that I don't really have a free will, as we call it. So finally, I gave up and I just went with whatever the divine plan is. And as you know, I live it today, every second, whatever the universe asks me, whatever I get guided, that's what I do. So I don't have a personal plan. What's the use of it? Throw it out of the window because eventually it's the universal plan anyway.
So the answer is to basically throw away all of your plans and surrender to the universe and experience bliss. we just finished day one. I had to take off my shoes because my feet are numb. I can't feel anything. My feet are like fully numb. It felt really good. It was worth it. It was worth it. Like all the, I don't want to say ups and downs, because the thing is, yes, there were ups and downs, but there were ups and downs because I'm not grounded enough. I think this whole experience made me realize that I want to work harder on my self-growth journey to become so grounded that something as big as this and as beautiful as this can still feel like a wave, not ups and downs. But it was beautiful. What a beautiful soul Gwyneth is, and how authentic. Oh my God, I'm just so inspired by her rawness. She doesn't give a damn. And I just want to thank my divine channel, for sticking by my side, for guiding me every single step of the way, for seeing 500 different angles that I can't see, for working on keeping me awake when I try to go unconscious, which happens a lot. Like, my ego has so many faces. As soon as I recognize one, another one shows up. And Sudi's been with me to keep me awake when I want to, fall into unconsciousness. So yeah, I'm very grateful. Very grateful.
What a day.
What a day. Yes, more tomorrow.